Hey y'all, Data Guy here, and today I have a video for you where I'm going to show you how you can use Airflow almost as kind of an MLOps orchestration tool to manage a pipeline that is going to get some data, create embeddings using the OpenAI embedding operator, and then use the Weaviate ingest operator to ingest those embeddings into a Weaviate database so that then they can be used for actually running machine learning models. Because as if anyone's worked with machine learning models that's watching this, you know vectorizing data is crucial to breaking down all that messy text data into really easily consumable numerical representations, and then you can use that to correlate, how similar the text is. So Airflow, because it's Pythonic in nature, because all these ML tools are Pythonic in nature, is a really good fit for actually managing your ML pipeline. So I'm going to show you kind of an example of how you can do that today. And so the first thing you're going to want to do when you're starting out with working with Weaviate and OpenAI is first import some packages. So we're going to need to import the Airflow, Apache Airflow providers for Weaviate, as well as the Weaviate client, so we can interact with the underlying Weaviate database more easily. And then we will also need to import some packages that will allow us to leverage OpenAI. So definitely don't need to have these pinned to the specific versions I'm using. In fact, I'm going to unpin them right now, but these are the 3 requirements you will need to actually be able to run the following DAG. So once you've gotten your environment set up with the proper packages and requirements, then you can go over to the DAG folder and create a new DAG. So we'll call this Weaviate OpenAI pipeline.py, save it, and then we can start building our DAG. So here, what we'll do is first import all the necessary packages and requirements for our DAG. So we'll import this annotations directory just so we can annotate our code, JSON for interacting with JSON data, and which is crucial for when you're ingesting data, pulling it from an external location. Typically it's going to come in JSON. Pathlib, so we can define file paths, pendulum for proper date time. All the different Airflow decorators we'll need: DAG, setup, task, and teardown. Then the OpenAI embedding operator, Weaviate hook, and Weaviate ingest operator for interacting with OpenAI and our Weaviate database. So once you're all done with that, then you also will need to create your DAG definition. So here we have DAG schedule equals none, using that pendulum date time, just giving it some basic tags. And then what we'll do is start creating our tasks. So the first thing we're going to need to do is actually just create a Weaviate class. And so what a Weaviate class does is essentially allows you to store data within a Weaviate database as a specific definition of a type. So in this case, this will just be a collection of objects that all have the same name. So all we're doing here is just saying, hey, create a grouping for all the data we're going to upload and then turn into vectors, and use this Weaviate hook to create that class with this definition. So just calling it Weaviate example class. And if you want to vectorize here, this is where you would incorporate the vectorizer. So you could say, hey, what vectorizer do I want to use? And there's many different ones out there to actually take my raw data and convert it into this Weaviate compatible vector data. So next, what we'll do is, and also another cool thing here is we have this at setup task decorator, and with this and you'll see this at the end, allow us to automatically tear down any resources, anything created during the body of this DAG without needing to explicitly not explicitly, but even if anything fails within it. So that's what the setup task does, is basically a fancy trigger rule that encompasses the entire lifetime of the DAG, so you don't necessarily have those kind of hidden failures where, hey, something broke in the middle of this DAG, now I have to go in and manually clean up all these resources. The setup teardown methodology allows you to do that yourself automatically. Then what we'll do is use a query to just get some data to embed, and so you can see this here. So path is just to Jeopardy data without vectors, and don't worry, I'll have a GitHub link in the description for where you can get all this code and the example data for actually vectorizing. So here, this is just some basic Jeopardy data in a JSON. We're using that JSON class or method to just load that data from your JSON body and then return an array with all the different items within the Jeopardy data. In this case, just creating an array of all the different questions that exist in this Jeopardy data JSON. And then you notice we also have this at setup task because we want both of these tasks. If they're both run, then we'll need to run this teardown task at the end of the DAG, even if there's a failure in between. So Once you're done with that, then the next thing to do is just actually declare that task to run. So just declaring data to embed equals get data to embed. And then we have this embed data where we're using the .partial expand to dynamically map tasks to process all of these different questions in parallel. So here we have our expand method is expanding for input text for all the different values that will return from this Jeopardy data, process this, and turn it into a vector. That's what this OpenAI embedding operator is doing, is using this text embedding ADA002 model to embed your data, and vectorize it, turning it into that format that is more compatible with your Weaviate database, and just easier to work with for those downstream ML models. Now the next step we're going to do is then upload or update that vector data in JSON format. So here we're creating a new task, defining update vector data in JSON, using this to pull the task instance details from the previous task. So reading from that Jeopardy data without vectors, so using this function that we created here, and then pulling the data that was returned from that embedding data function to then vectorize it and save it within the database. So here for every index and vector, for every index and piece of question that was just vectorized by the OpenAI embedding, just create that or turn that into a vector object and then return that data as an array. So now that we're done with that, so we've updated our vector data in JSON, so returning it in a format that we can then consume. Then we are going to take that via the Weaviate ingest operator here. So task ID, performing the ingestion using our Weaviate default connection, which I'll show you in a second how to set up. And then we have our class name, which is just a Weaviate example class. Input JSON, where we're dynamically pulling from this previous task, which was creating that kind of vector index vector format, and then inputting that into our Weaviate database using that example class. So importing all this vectorized data as that Weaviate example class that we defined earlier in the DAG. So that way it's all under the kind of same umbrella. Next, what we'll do is also run an embedding query. So here, what we're doing is actually vectorizing and embedding a question. So here we're taking this input text biology to search for any questions that relate to biology. And what this is going to do is take that biology raw input text, vectorize it, and then find vectors that are similar to biology in order to find which questions match our query. So a little retrieval augmented generation. And then what we can do is create a next task, which is actually going to use this embedded query to query Weaviate. So here, again, using that same kind of TI to pull our XComs from our previous task, initiate a Weaviate hook. Here's the properties, so just building our query that we're going to use within Weaviate. And then here, Weaviate hook, query with vector. So using our query vector, using the Weaviate example class, and just the properties of that example class. And then assert in response. So this is just kind of giving a primer to the response. So you can actually add strings, say, hey, I want to in 1953, Watson and Crick built a model. And then what this will do is actually get a question or kind of fill in the blank here of that particular question. So pretty cool stuff. And you can alter this if you want to play around with, querying for different types of answers, different types of questions. And so that's why I wanted to make this, it's a fun little simple DAG that you can kind of play around with and get it comfortable with using it for MLOps. Then at the end of this, you have teardown task, where this is going to delete everything, clean up our database, our Weaviate database. So don't necessarily need this. I just have it because I want this to be a self-contained DAG. And then just initialize it all as example Weaviate OpenAI down at the bottom. So then we'll save this, and I will take you into the Airflow UI to show you how to set up those connections. So if you've stuck around long enough, you get a little chance to say hi to the data dog here. So this is a little data dog. He's joining me because he's being a little rascal. But just wanted to show you, just to sum this all up, where you can add your connection details and show you how to run the DAG. So for Weaviate, typically a connection is going to look something like this. Really, normally, all you're going to need is your Weaviate database URL. This is because it's a string that will contain all of your different connection details within that host. And then also, if you're using the cloud version, might want to use the Weaviate API token. Another option for just authenticating Weaviate, but generally pretty easy system to authenticate into, and not really one I typically run into problems with. And then the second connection type we'll need to set up is our OpenAI connection. So here, if we go to new connection, type in OpenAI, really all you're going to need here is just your API key. So it's really annoying, like you can't actually recreate API keys after you created them within or visualize them, so this is why it's kind of safe. But yeah, generally we'll just use the API token for authenticating into here, and then you can just save this, and then let's go test our DAG. So if your DAG is running successfully, it should look something like this. You'll see you have your get data to embed, and you can see that kind of the relationship between the setup and teardown task visualized here with these arrows, and all the different steps in between. So getting the data, embedding it, updating that embedded vectorized data, performing that ingestion, embedding the query, and querying Weaviate as well. So I hope you found this video helpful. I hope this helps you kind of get your brain percolating around using Airflow for MLOps, because I think it's a really great fit. But above all else, have a great rest of your day. Data Guy out.